I was a fan of him. Yeah. I just I liked the honesty and perceptiveness of his work, and that he really tapped into the nuances of human interaction. I was a fan of, like, how he did a good job of, like, tapping into really edge material, but in a thoughtful way. I think he would say things that you're like, oh, you can't say that, but he did a really good job of setting it up in a way where you understood why he was saying it and you empathized with, like, where he's coming from. And it was, a lot of his stuff was very much about, like, the raw truth of human experiences. And that's sort of what made it so infuriating to me when it came out that he was such a monster. And what he did to me seems very monstrous. I feel like maybe it was like 3 years ago that I started hearing rumors and seeing articles online about a male comedian masturbating and trapping people in rooms, and that they thought maybe it was Louis C.K. and that people were questioning him and questioning other people who were friends with him, and they were all really dodgy and didn't want to answer any questions around that. And from my own personal experience, having dealt with sexual assault and seeing all of the ways people behave around that, after, like, investigating all the information that was out there, I was basically like, this is probably true, it's probably Louis C.K. And I kind of made peace with that. There was a lot of evidence of that too in his work. He, like, had, like, several scenes in his show where he was trapping women in rooms, and not really interested in their consent. He spent like a decade denying it, like, before that apology came out. When all that came out, I saw how other people reacted, and I saw a lot of the initial reactions that I had had, but, like, I was way past that, like, grieving stage of being, like, sad about losing a comic that I respected. I had some really productive conversations, actually. Like, a friend of mine on Facebook posted, like, I've been such a big fan of Louis and I hope he can get back from this, and I responded and I was like, it's really gross that your first concern is how Louis C.K.'s career is gonna go, like, that, this is your first priority, is, like, how can this predator recover from being caught, basically. That your first priority is, like, how can this predator recover from being caught, basically. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to do this. A lot of people really minimize the severity of what he did because he didn't, like, physically assault people. A lot of people really minimize the severity of what he did because he didn't, like, physically assault people, but trapping somebody in a room and imposing yourself on them in that way is, I think that a lot of people who haven't been victimized don't understand that the psychological impacts are much greater than the physical impacts, and that the fact that he didn't physically assault them doesn't really make it less egregious to me. Yeah, more of the way he's exonerated himself by what he said in his apology, which I think was not true. Like, that he didn't realize what he had done and that he was sorry. And then also his subsequent actions since then. To say that he didn't realize that he was doing this thing, like, I don't know if you've ever been blocked in an entryway, but I don't know if you've ever blocked an entryway, but when you're keeping someone, I don't know if you've ever blocked an entryway, but when you keep someone in a room physically, you're doing that. you know it's not something that someone can, it's not something that someone can accidentally do. And again, seeing how perceptive he is about the nuances of human emotions and interactions from his work, I just don't believe that he didn't realize what he was doing. I just don't believe that he didn't realize what he was doing. Again, this thing about like, well, how am I gonna come back from this? And I'm like, that's the last thing I care about. And honestly, it's really annoying that that's the first thing you care about. And then it makes me think that a lot of these people asking these questions see themselves in that behavior that they're like, well, I would hate for this to happen to me. And it's like, this wasn't something that happened to him. This was something that he did over a really long period of time too. It wasn't like a one-time incident, If it had been once and that was it, I would maybe have taken his apology more seriously, but it was serial behavior. Yeah. I think the anger comes from hurt and not a sense of stability. I would, she's angry because, she's protecting herself. Because this happened to her, all this stuff is, damaging to her. I would maybe have taken his apology more seriously, but it was serial behavior. Yeah. I think it was, I was at a comedy open mic, and in the back, some guy was like, well, everybody deserves a chance. It deserves a second chance. And I was like, oh my god. One, questionable premise to start with. Second, he had a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance. He harassed so many people. He assaulted, I think it's assault to trap someone in a room that way. He assaulted so many people. He deserves prison time, let alone who cares about a second chance for his career. And he's not gonna see prison time. And that's, not surprising in our society. Yeah, that on that one, I was I thought people could at least count. It's not enough to just recognize these issues. I think that in order to really concern yourself with his work at the moment, you have to a little bit dehumanize women and say that they're less important because you're just basically throwing away all of those women that he, whose careers he deaded. It's not, it's just obvious to me from how he conducted himself that he hasn't done any sincere exploration into that, and I don't know that he's capable of it. I've tried to reach people like that. You can't, I'm sorry, yeah. I cry really easily. No, I'm fine. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess the whole story really specifically resonates for me because I was assaulted by a comedian who I think probably idolized Louis C.K. And similar to Louis C.K., I think relied on this notion of himself as too pathetic to be a predator, that he, any harm he did to anybody else was not something he was accountable for because he was such a pathetic person. I dealt with someone who repeatedly assaulted me, apologized repeatedly in empty ways, and continued to harass me. And And I saw the same reaction from my community that they felt it was too bold to ostracize him. Those are all the actions. Those are all of the actions that continue to uphold a society where women continue to be harassed, assaulted without consequence. I think that the root of all this is just a fundamental devaluing of women in our society. And I think, Louis C.K. is guilty of that, and everyone else too.